Hello, I'm Ricky R. Levon, author of the book Work for the Lord is With You. This video will give insight into the last 7 questions from Lesson 4. The reason behind this is because it covers the second verse from Haggai chapter 1. This is only meant to provide a brief understanding. Obviously, when it comes to personal questions only, you can make that assessment, obviously yourself. But please enjoy and make sure to follow along with a pen and paper, or of course if you have a copy of the book. Question 5 says, what did the Lord say that the Israelites claimed? It's found in Haggai chapter 1 verse 2. The answer is that it was not time to rebuild God's house. Question 6. God allowed his people to leave exile and start a brand new life in their homeland. He gave a message through the ruling king to rebuild his house and of course the city. Then God gave them time to work. Why do you believe the people said what was listed in the previous question? And some thought I just thought about was that it is possible that like us, they got, comfortable. Obviously, they needed some place to live and work and grow crops for food. But once they had that established themselves to live, then they got caught up in doing that work, which personally, of course, helped them. And we all do this. God gives us a decree, a goal, or purpose. He wants us to fulfill this particular goal, decree, or whatever it might be for him. And we obviously require certain basic needs to survive and live. Then once these needs are met, we're so used to having them that becomes our focus and keep staying on earthly things instead of doing what God has commanded. So to them, they simply thought that they needed time to get settled or thrive and completely forgot about what God said for them to do in the first place. Question 7. In what ways can we get the Lord's message confused and proceed to do our own thing? Answer. It's easy to do something that is immediately beneficial for us. We live on earth and need things to live and survive. God knows this. But he doesn't want our earthly needs to get in the way of heavenly goals. We forgot that the blessings God gives us are resources to be used to not only help us, but also complete whatever purpose we were created for. It's easy to be confused unless we are clear on what God wants. The best thing to do is to be honest with God. Tell him you're in the valley of trying to figure out the next step and you need clarity. I'm quite sure God will, of course, provide that for you. Question 8. Paul gave a warning regarding those who knew God but decided to do their own thing. How does Paul characterize these people? This is found in Romans chapter 1, verse 21 through 22. Paul was clear. They were fools even though they believed they were wise. Period, point blank. Now, question 9. What did the people do to the image of God? This is found in Romans chapter 1, verse 23. These people that Paul talked about exchanged the Lord for things built by people. Things that we can see and that we have in our hands. So these false gods resembled animals and people. And if you look at a variety of various deities from various cultures, but also probably within some that you might be more familiar with, you'll see that is very much the case. Question 10. Because of how the people conducted themselves, what did God do? And list some of their behaviors. This is found in Romans chapter 1, verses 24 through 32. And it says, and a part of this answer is, God allowed these people to go with their impure cravings. Now some, and I do mean some, so this is not even all, but some of the behaviors that Paul listed was sexual of nature, greediness, envy, murder, malice, gossiping, arrogance, pride, untrustworthiness, unloving, and even unmerciful to one another. And like I said, that's just some of the stuff that Paul mentioned. There's quite a bit more that was listed between this huge amount of verses. To God, these people deserve to die. And this is what's really interesting. And even those who applaud others who practice them. So it wasn't just the people who did certain things, but it was those who also applaud or uplifted those people who did that as well. And the last question, question 11, not all people who decide to go against God will be or as quite as bad are those listed in the first chapter of Romans. Nevertheless, what lessons can we learn while obeying God and following his commands compared to our own? Now, the important is to remember that Paul is referring to people who knew God and knew his way. However, they decided to do things their way. This, of course, led them away from the Lord and caused them to act in ways that was, let's just say, unbecoming of being one of the Lord's representatives. There are a lot that Paul lists, but often we only look at certain aspects of this verse, which to me is interesting. Often it's because we see something that represents us when we go through that, and then our focus immediately shifts to parts of the verses that doesn't. And then, of course, we then harp on that, get kind of angry and stuff. Now, regardless, with Paul and when looking at the ancient Israelites, there was a notion of doing things their way. No different than people that was mentioned in Paul, and of course the people that was mentioned in Haggai. This is disastrous and leads us away from what the Lord wants. Instead of doing that, let us try and follow each day to complete what God desires. Well, thank you so much for following along with this particular video and the section of Lesson 4. To read the entire book, make sure to get a copy of Work for the Lord is With You online or at your local bookstore today. If you already have a copy, thank you so much for your support and be blessed.